Hey guys, it's DGG here. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with the gaming world, which is about three of you at this point, E3 just happened. Excuse me. I've had a cough for a while. That's fucked up a couple recordings of mine, but E3 just happened. Well, not yet. For me personally, today is Tuesday, June 14th. So Nintendo's conference is going to be in a little while, but I'll be at work. But I do have a chance to record for the other conferences. So there's a lot to talk about. I'm just going to be going chronologically. I'm going to split up the conference talk into videos between EA, Microsoft, Ubisoft, and then Sony. So that's how this is going to go down. Also, no script because I just want this as a general discussion. I want this out fast. So yeah, E3 has been a little interesting this year. A lot of the Titans that I expected to have some cool stuff, they didn't really have a lot of interesting stuff. And then a couple of the underdogs, they had some pretty cool stuff. But I'll get into that. But for this video, let's just talk about EA's conference because that was the first one. I also won't be talking about the PC conference. I'm not a PC guy, so sorry. I also didn't watch it, so that's the primary problem. All right, so let's begin with EA. So EA had 5 games to show. 2 of them are sports, so I won't be talking about those. Although I will say that FIFA 17 having a story is actually quite interesting. I think that's a cool move. To get people into the game that aren't into soccer or anything else, or some kind of single player mode where they can learn and then go online. And once they learn the game and everything like that, doesn't matter. So I'm going to be skipping talking about FIFA and Madden. So let's start with the first game they showed, which is one of the biggest things that I was hyped for, Titanfall 2. The Titanfall 2 trailer, that was pretty cool, and the gameplay they showed subsequently, and even the story. But I'm getting a little off track. So the Titanfall 2 multiplayer gameplay, that looks sweet. There was a lot of grappling hooks this E3, and I find that interesting because I love grappling hooks in video games because you're like, oh, what's that over there? Oh, I can just go right over there. I always like that because in video games there's a 50-50 shot of you looking at something that's like, can I actually go over there? So that's always the disappointing thing. But with grappling hooks, it kind of negates that a little bit. But Titanfall 2, the multiplayer looks primarily the same, which I'm fine with because I love the original Titanfall. But there do seem to be new Titans to play around with, and the grappling hooks, as I said before. I also like how the multiplayer trailer had a long tracking shot of one player going, I think, from a Titan down to the ground, killing a couple people, parkouring through a window, sliding, killing another person, and then slipping into another Titan, fighting for a little bit, and then popping out of the Titan, and then grapple hooking the other person that flew out of the Titan and killing them. That was a pretty cool track shot, and it really encompasses, because a lot of trailers use a lot of cuts, and that's very weird because you don't really get a single line of action. But with this trailer, I found it interesting because of how long it kept that single shot, and it shows you how hectic it can really get, because Titanfall is one of the fastest shooters I've ever played. I think the second being Doom. Doom is pretty fast. The new Doom. The new Doom is pretty fast, but Titanfall is just way faster. And also, Titanfall 2 is going to have a single player mode. It's going to have a story. I saw the story trailer, and I'm actually pretty interested in it. For those of you that didn't watch the last video where I said Rebellion stories are boring, because they are, I was a little weirded. I always get weirded out when there's a new story because there's a 50-50 shot of it just being garbage. But from the looks of it, it looks like one of those duality stories where there's a main character and a supporting character, which acts as the secondary main character. That looks pretty cool. I'm interested. Plus, the secondary main character is a robot. That's cool. So I like that it's gonna have a story. The multiplayer looks, it doesn't look too different, but it does successfully showcase how hectic the game can get. Also, Titanfall 2 is gonna be coming to the PS4. That doesn't really matter to me because I have an Xbox One. So I'm not sure which console I'm gonna get it on. Probably the Xbox. I just like achievements. Um, I don't know. The PS4 does have more horsepower though, so I may get it for that. Doesn't matter. Anyway, that's Titanfall 2. I liked it. I'm really interested in it. The third game that they showed, they took a split. They went from Titanfall 2 to Madden, which I won't be talking about, and then they went to Fee. Now Fee looks interesting, because it looks like this year's Yarny or this year's Unravel. I actually haven't beaten Unravel yet. I sung its praises a lot before it came out. Then I started playing it, and it was pretty cool. But I just never brought myself to finish it. I don't know why. It did get a little frustrating at times. Um, uh, but Feed does look pretty interesting. It's hard to go into a lot of detail because it's mostly a teaser. That they showed during the press conference. Um, but it was interesting. It did remind me of Journey, where the main character is going around and he's making songs that the environment responds to. That does seem a little Journey. But I don't know. It looks interesting. I think that's all I can say about it. Yeah, that is definitely one of the highlights. It just looks interesting. That's really all I can say about it. The song aspect, it's funny because the song aspect was an idea I had a long time ago, and then it came out like this, and I was like, well, can't use that anymore. Cool. um, but yeah, it looks pretty cool. The enemy is a pretty interesting enemy. It's a pretty cool concept, but that's all I can really talk about is that it just looks interesting. But you know what? For a game nowadays to look interesting, that's all it really needs. Um, so that's enough of Fee. Let's move on to the thing that everyone was talking about, Battlefield 1. Um, so Battlefield 1, I was a little skeptical about it because it did look like kind of every Battlefield when the first trailer dropped. Um, except, dialed back in time. It did look pretty similar. But of course, Battlefield 1 is hyped because, the controversy of the Infinite Warfare trailer. Which I also will be talking about. Well, the second trailer that's shown during Sony's press conference. Um, oh, excuse me. Sorry about that. So yeah, completely lost my train of thought. So the Battlefield one during the EA press conference, that was pretty interesting. I found it weird that they showed the first 20 seconds of the trailer. They stopped and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna show you the rest of that trailer, but let's talk about it a little bit more." I thought that was a little weird. I figured they should have done the trailer, talked about it, and then shown some gameplay. But after the conference, they had an hour of Battlefield 1 gameplay, of which I saw segments of it. I didn't watch the whole thing. I did find the intro of the, I guess they're Let's Players. I haven't heard of them. Of the Let's Players that are going to be showing off the Battlefield 1 gameplay, the hour-long one. That was pretty interesting. That was pretty funny, actually. It was a little bit more funny than it probably should have been, but oh well, whatever. Um, but I did see Battlefield 1, and it does look pretty interesting. There is some sort of difference in gameplay when time is dialed back like that. There's no automatic rifle. Well, excuse me. There's no fully automatic rifles or jets soaring by. It's blimps and biplanes and stuff like that. I do find that pretty interesting. So it does look different enough, but I'm not sure if I'm that excited for it. It does look interesting, but I'm still going to have to wait a little bit on it because there are actually a couple other games that are shown this E3 that I'm really interested about. October is going to suck because everything comes out in October. Maybe except for Dishonored 2, but oh well. So that was pretty much the EA press conference. There isn't a lot else I think that happened. I'm trying to remember. Um, no, I think it was a pretty solid conference. 3 out of the 5 games I'm interested in. Um, FIFA having a story is pretty interesting, but I'm still not gonna get it because I'm not a sports game guy. Um, so yeah, I found that pretty interesting. They did talk about some stuff about EA Play, um, but I don't think it was anything really that interesting. If I remember right, I don't think anything that interesting happened where it was like, oh, well, you get all of our games for free. It's like, oh shit. No, nothing like that happened. So, anything less than that, I probably won't remember. So they did talk about some other EA aspects. Um, but I think that was pretty much everything to the EA press conference. It was short. It was just an hour long, and it was pretty solid. It was pretty much the epitome of solid. There was nothing. It was a very strong start, but it kind of metaled out. But it kept solid throughout the whole thing, which is more I could say for Sony, but we'll get to that. Um, Not sure how well that press conference analysis is going to go, but oh well, that's it. So that's the press conference. Tune in for the next video where I talk about Bethesda.